So here we have an article. Apparently, California is considering giving taxpayers $400 for putting up with these high gas prices, trying to relieve some pain. And it's kind of pretty funny and ironic because the whole point of what the left is trying to do, okay, it's worried about climate change. Therefore, it's got to wean people off fossil fuels. We're going to go electric, all this alternative energies. So, and it's always pushing for a carbon tax, pushing, increasing taxes on carbon fuels to make them less and less competitive compared to the renewables. And here you have it. I mean, it's not a policy-driven decision. It's, well, whatever. It is a policy. I mean, they chose not to drill continue with the Keystone pipeline, the XL pipeline from Canada. They chose not to, make their own fracking. They chose not to buy oil from Canada. They chose to cut off Putin's oil supply. Okay, these are all policy decisions. That's fine. Be that as it may. But that is not a good thing. That should be a good thing, right? You want to wean people off. Instead of just raising taxes on carbons, on the fuels, just let by your actions, your policy decisions, the taxes are. I mean, the prices are going up, so you should celebrate. But obviously, reality is biting in the butt. And they're crying uncle, and they know that they're going to get the boot next election because people have pain at the pump. And now they're trying to do some piecemeal thing of try to buy off some votes. Like, well, here's a $400 check, which is pretty ridiculous. I mean, if you had some more substantial leadership in California that's like, instead of like worrying about the next election, like Gavin Newsom or whatever, instead of just trying to bribe somebody off real quick so he can stay in office just a little bit longer. Any kind of like CEO or owner or even a dictator with like a long-term vision would be like, you know what, we're going to take this money. I know we shouldn't even have this money. This is all COVID money from the government. We shouldn't be with surplus. California's in debt or whatever. Pensions are all screwed up. But if we have this extra cash, this is what we're going to do. We are going to upgrade the. California is always in droughts, or LA is always in droughts. We're gonna make a water recapture, or like improve the infrastructure somehow. Something for the long term. Yet they want to do this piecemeal stuff, which is pretty. It's so ridiculous. It's like, what's $400 to most people, really? I mean, I can understand. Maybe some people it would help them out like a week or what. Most people that live in California, I mean, $400, that's a couple nights out, really. So what is that's 6 months worth of lattes and avocado toast. So a group of Democratic state lawmakers on Wednesday called for spending $400 rebate to every California taxpayer to help soften the blow of recent surges in gasoline prices. But what about softening the blow of other failed policies, like their zoning policy, or softening the blow of high taxes, softening the blow of a whole bunch of companies leaving and taking their jobs with it? Where's the checks for that? It's like, instead of like digging them, like, why can't? It's like, stop digging, just reverse yourself. Maybe when you look at a business list of the highest taxes, highest tax state, and the worst state to do business, maybe you can just make an effort to get from 50th, the worst place, to like 45th or something. They could like try to woo businesses and say, hey, do business here. I'm trying my best to like clear hurdles, clear regulations. This is a profitable place. We're bringing down the cost of living. Here, we got rid of zoning. People can, on their own land, can build up to 8 units. People don't have to spend half their paycheck on rent. Of course, they're not going to do that, though. The proposal comes as pressure mounts to help Californians struggle with prices at the pump, as well as increasing cost of food, rent, and other daily essentials. Republican lawmakers have been pushing temporary suspension of the state's highest in the nation state gas tax. What about highest in the nation every other tax? 51 cents per gallon. But that appears unlikely because opposition from Democratic legislative leadership. So I see what's going on here. If a one-time check, people understand it's a one-time check. But if they suspend the gas tax, it'd be super politically unpopular to raise the gas tax back up. So what the government does is going to kick the can down the road, and it's never going to come back up, presumably. And a lot of their quote-unquote infrastructure projects are going to get stalled. But this gas tax was supposedly to fix the roads. I've driven on LA roads for 12 years. I can tell you, not much of that gas tax goes to the roads repair at all. It just goes to the slush fund. They go build whatever the projects they want. I hope it's. I mean, it could just be straight corruption, but I assume they're at least doing some kind of like metro or some kind of like like subway system, to build stops. But even then, I mean, most people don't use the metro. It's too inconvenient. We don't have like a convenient city center. It takes 2 hours to get from work to home. So most people use the car, and because most people use the car, and most people pay this gas tax, at least do the most basic duty possible and have the streets paved properly without potholes. This proposal for $400 rebate will cover the current 51 cents per gallon gas for 1 full year, 52 trips to the pump for most vehicles. We believe a rebate is a better approach than suspending a gas tax, which would severely impact funding for important transportation projects and offers no guarantee that oil companies will pass that savings on to the consumers. Well, oil companies. Yeah, I mean, it's called supply. I mean, this is a market. So if you suspend the gas tax, the gas stations will bid the price down. I mean, so no. We got to give the money directly to. We got to give the money directly to the taxpayers, even though, as it states here later on this article, a lot of the people in California are not really. They're not scraping the bottom of their bank account, The governor has been working with the legislature to craft a tax relief package after promising in his State of the address last week that put money back in the pockets of Californians who have been struggling financially by the sharp rise in gas prices. But here's the problem. The proposal lawmakers said that the letter to Newsom should be considered as part of the state's budget negotiations that will begin in late spring. Early estimates of the size of California's tax surplus have varied, and it wouldn't become more clear until taxpayers file their returns next month. Even so, most estimates have been larger than the projected $9 billion cost of the Democratic effort. More than 1.4 million taxpayers using the 2009 data, earnings more than $200K a year would be eligible. And then let's see, almost 1 in 4 tax returns filed in 2009 came taxpayers with an annual adjusted income of more than $100K. So I guess you're sending out checks to people, although $100K after taxes, and you're living in LA, you're not balling out of control. You might just be enough for food, energy, and rent. Okay, so in the proposal should be embraced by Newsom and signed into law would probably come the closest of any current effort to fulfilling the promise of California's voter-approved government spending limit. What the? In 1979, law requires a mix of taxpayer rebates and new school funding when revenues grow faster than most general government spending over a 2-year period. Analysts have projected that the state is likely to breach the spending limit by next year. Last year, Democrats avoided sending out across-the-board rebates by instead of spending almost $12 billion on the COVID-19 pandemic stimulus program open to Californians who earn $70K a year or less. In 2017, the Democrat-controlled legislature passed Senate Bill 1, which the Governor Jerry Brown signed into law, levying the state's first gas tax increase in 23 years, 12 cents a gallon to repair California's roads and bridges. That was a complete failure. Under the law, the tax increases each year on July 1st based on the growth of California's consumer price index. So anyway, this is just a drop in the bucket. This is a stupid idea, as always. The problem in California are way more fundamental than the gas. The gas prices are the latest thing, but I mean, the state is so mismanaged, so horrible that the whole almost everything needs to be ripped up and you know what I mean, and written from scratch, like sending out $400 checks. I mean, this is pretty much useless.